Meanwhile, this story is just too hilarious to me. And in one way, I appreciate it. In another way, it's just hilarious BS. This is by Mark Thiessen, who is one of George Bush's former speechwriters. So right there, we could end the conversation and just simply say, this guy's got to be somewhat pathological to even show his face. Never mind his byline. I guess he's an op-ed writer for the Washington Post now. The media is so liberal. You know how that goes. And he writes, the Super Committee's 13th member, Occupy Wall Street. Now, I will say this. I do think he is right, in some respects, to credit Occupy Wall Street. It's easy to go overboard, but certainly Occupy Wall Street created even more pressure that made it harder for the Democrats, and there were some of them who definitely wanted to on that super committee, to cave and essentially sell off Social Security and Medicare benefits, to basically screw the average person in the United States. So without a doubt, Occupy Wall Street deserves some credit from preventing a horrible deal from being made. But that's about it. The interesting thing about this piece is, well, I guess the interesting part isn't about his lying. That's to be expected. He goes on to say, Occupy Wall Street demands that Democrats impose massive tax increases on the wealthiest 1% of the country, is what ultimately did in the super committee. Now, I only wish it were. The only thing that did in the super committee was the absolute refusal of Republicans to raise taxes at all, to create any new revenues at all. We remember that moment on the debate where all the Republican candidates said, I wouldn't even do a 10-to-1 spending cut to revenue raise, tax increase, which of course is absurd. And he wrote, it's not Norquist's pledge that destroyed the super committee. The GOP members of the super committee showed they were willing to violate his anti-tax pledge when they put forward a plan crafted by Senator Pat Toomey that would have raised taxes by $250 billion over 10 years by dramatically reducing the deductions and credits wealthier taxpayers could claim to reduce their tax liability. The GOP plan would have brought in another $40 billion in revenue by using a new measure of inflation to adjust tax brackets each year, which is also a tax increase. So basically, Thiessen is saying the Republicans put nearly $300 billion worth of new taxes on the table. What he's not telling you is that the other part of that deal was, oh, and you know the $3 trillion of taxes that are set to be collected in 2013 when the Bush tax cuts expire? Yeah, that can't happen. So the Republican offer was really a net $2.7 trillion of taxes. Or tax cuts, I should say. Because they would take that expiration of the Bush tax cuts off the table. So he's lying here. And the most interesting thing about this piece is we are seeing Occupy Wall Street, not just from the Democrats, but also from the Republicans, being pushed into the fulcrum of the debate that could shape the 2012 election. And at a time when even the Manchester Union leader is endorsing Newt Gingrich because Mitt Romney represents the 1%. This seems to me it's going to be a big losing narrative for Republicans. So kudos to Occupy Wall Street